The composer of this opera was convinced to write it by Camille Dulocle after its commissioner threatened to give Charles Gounod or Richard Wagner the job instead. Its premiere was delayed because the ongoing Franco-Prussian War delayed the shipping of costumes designed by Auguste Mariette. Mariette also wrote the story that inspired this opera, which was translated into a libretto by Antonio Ghislanzoni that includes the aria Ritorna Vincentur. This opera's premiere at the Kidiville Opera House used 12 live elephants for the triumphal march, in which the protagonist's captive father Amonasro is paraded. For 10 points, name this Giuseppe Verdi opera in which Radames is executed and the title Ethiopian princess dies alongside him. And the answer is Aida. In a mid-tempo 3/4 aria that heavily features two flutes in thirds, this character describes a whirlwind-like dance accompanied by the tinkling rods of the sistra. This character's most famous aria is based on a mid-tempo chromatic scale down from D. This mezzo-soprano role, whose realism caused a scandal at the opera's 1875 premiere, reads tarot cards with Frasquita and Mercedes and first appears during a break at a cigarette factory. She sings a seguidilla after calling love a rebellious bird in her habanera and seduces Escamillo, a toreador, before being stabbed by Don José. For 10 points, name this titled gypsy of an opera by Georges Bizet. And the answer is Carmen. In an aria from this opera, a character tells some women to see if I have love in my heart. A lawyer in this opera plans to force a character to marry his client in the aria La Vendetta, but finds out in a sextet that he and his client Marcelina are the title character's parents. Two characters in this opera measure the dimensions of a bed, and another hides in a closet before breaking flower pots owned by Antonio. That character, Cherubino, is the cousin of the soon-to-be-married Susanna. For 10 points, name this Mozart opera about Count Almaviva's advances towards the fiancée of the title civilian barber before their wedding. And the answer is The Marriage of Figaro. A cavatina from this opera, often transposed from E major to F major for coloratura sopranos, is sung by its female lead just before she writes a letter. This opera's final scene features the failure of three characters to escape a doctor's house after another character had removed their escape ladder. A character in this opera disguises himself as a drunken soldier, a music teacher, and a student named Lindoro in order to be with his lover. Before the Dr. Bartolo is able to stop a wedding, Count Almaviva marries Rosina at the end of this opera. In the aria Largo al Factotum, this opera's title character sings his name repeatedly as he makes his first entrance. For 10 points, Figaro is the title character of what opera by Gioacchino Rossini? And the answer is The Barber of Seville. This opera's overture is structured like a 4-movement symphony, with its first section marked Prelude, Dawn. At the beginning of this opera, Arnold refuses to participate in the Shepherd Festival due to his longing for Matilda. The main character of this opera directs his son to think of his mother in the aria Sois Immobile. An English horn and flute exchange peaceful passages in the Ranz des Vaches in this opera's overture, which ends with a section marked March of the Swiss Soldiers. An archer shoots an apple off of his son's head in, for 10 points, What Opera by Gioacchino Rossini? And the answer is William Tell. After hearing Frédéric Chopin's variations on a duet from this opera, Robert Schumann declared, "Hats off, gentlemen, a genius." The character in this opera who sings Notte e giorno faticar cowers in fear because of another character who declares, "A cenar teco me invitasti e son venuto." An aria from this opera addressed to Madamina lists off 640 in Italy and 231 in Germany to Donna Elvira. That aria is sung by the servant Leporello and is known as the Catalogue aria. The title character of this opera is dragged to hell by a statue of the Commendatore. For 10 points, name this Mozart opera about the demise of the title womanizer. And the answer is Don Giovanni. Maud Allan created a famous production of this play titled For the Vision of its title character. It opens with a scene in which a page and a young Syrian discuss the nature of the moon, shortly after which a voice from a cistern prophesies the coming of Christ. This play was dedicated to Lord Alfred Douglas despite the fact that he'd botched the initial translation from the original French, and it was illustrated by Aubrey Beardsley. At the climax of this play, its protagonist kisses an item she'd requested as a reward for performing the Dance of the Seven Veils. For 10 points, name this tragedy in which the stepdaughter of Herod demands the head of Jochanan or John the Baptist on a silver platter, a play by Oscar Wilde. And the answer is Salome. The original version of this work was rejected due to its lack of female roles, prompting its composer to include the Polish scene in the 1872 revised version. The work ends with a holy fool in the Kromi forest bemoaning his country's fate, while the prologue includes a church bell-laden coronation scene that, like the rest of the opera, was revised by Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. Based on a Pushkin drama, it features a false Dmitri in the titular Tsar, whose death prompted the Time of Troubles. For 10 points, name this only completed opera of Modest Mussorgsky. And the answer is Boris Godunov. In this opera, two characters sing the aria O Soave Fanciulla after one sees the other bathed in moonlight. At the end of this opera, one character presents another with a pink bonnet as a souvenir of their love. That character sings the aria Che gelida manina after another character asks him to light her candle. In this opera, Musetta sings the aria Quando men vo as she tricks her old lover Alcindoro and seduces Marcello at the Café Momus. This opera ends with Rodolfo weeping after Mimi dies of tuberculosis. For 10 points, name this opera about a group of artists living in the poor Latin quarter of Paris, written by Giacomo Puccini. And the answer is La Bohème. The main character of this opera criticizes a servant for praying to fat and lazy gods. A character asks his wife not to cry in this opera's love duet that closes its first act, and its third act begins with sailors singing Heave Ho as the sun rises. The title character of this opera imagines seeing a puff of smoke on the horizon in the aria Bel di Vedremo. A character introduced with The Star-Spangled Banner returns with his new wife Kate in this opera, prompting the main character to blindfold her infant son and give him an American flag before committing suicide. For 10 points, name this Giacomo Puccini opera about the Japanese geisha, Cho-Cho-San. And the answer is Madama Butterfly.